Okay. Maybe. Yeah. Can I? So have I got now? Hello and welcome. I'm just going to have this running real quick while I get everything set up. But hopefully we are live right now. I hope. Once we hit 7 p.m., I'll get things... Well, sorry. Once we hit 1 p.m. in UK time, I'll get things started. But this is just so everyone can turn up. Drop me a message if you're already in the chat, if you're already on the stream. And in a few minutes' time, we will get things started. Yes, if you were here last week too, you would have realized that this is not my forte. Okay, cool. Okay, it is up. So while I just get everything sorted, if you are here, thanks very much. And yeah, we will start very, very shortly. The frustrating thing, as we're going to get into, the frustrating thing is YouTube has put me in the timeout zone, and I'm on the naughty list right now, all because I hosted my last guest, Bold Lion, who I'm eternally grateful for because he's a great speaker. But he tells me after that we've done it, by the way, I'm blacklisted. So I'm not sure how many people are going to turn up to this one, but we'll see. I'll wait one more minute just to get a few more people in. But if you are here, say hi. Say hi. I'm trying to make sure that everything's working. Like I say, this isn't my usual thing. But practice makes perfect, and all that jazz. Let's get my. Okay. Okay, we have a few people online. Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining me today. We're a few minutes early. Hi from Essex. Dude, thanks very much. Hey, I appreciate it. Tell you what, we might as well get started right now. Top man. Here we go. So, today's stream. Generally speaking, I just want to go over all the events which have been happening in the previous week, what my thoughts are, how we need to collectivize, how we need to organize ourselves, because a lot of people are waking up to just how bad things are. And I'm hoping that we can use these as a platform, if nothing else, where we all can gather our thoughts, where we can start to move forward and all the rest of it. So before we begin, just a very quick message for everyone. If you would like to donate, like I say, I'm going to be going on a bit of a flow, showing articles, showing some of the news, showing videos, whatever. If you want to interrupt me at any point in the stream, then you can donate here at streamlabs.com. I've left the link in the description. Hopefully it's there. But if you donate any amount, of course, we'll read them out. What I'll do, I'll probably get halfway through the show and then start to read them. However, if you donate $10 and up, I haven't used this feature before, but it's all set up. So hopefully it works. If you donate $10 and up, it will interrupt me, and it will activate the TTS, text to speak. So anyway, that option's there. I guess a few little things to go through while we're here. This is the Buy Me a Coffee page. If you do want to support the show, great. Again, if you just want to watch and enjoy the content and then maybe build these communities, amazing. Couldn't thank you enough. But I wanted to draw attention to this. Someone became a supporter. Whoever that someone is, thank you, you legend. Honestly, I was well chuffed. Anyway, and hey, for all those who haven't become a supporter yet, that someone could be you. So we'll see. Anyway, like I say, I don't know how long the YouTube's going to last. I'm going to keep doing this anyway, regardless. And I'm going to, if it ends, it ends. But as a backup, please make sure you follow the Blunt Clarity on Rumble. Much more free speech platform, of course. The problem is the algorithm isn't that good. So we're going to use the YouTube algorithm as much as we can until it gets to the point where they take me off the airwaves. If it does happen, then please head over to Rumble. And of course, Spotify as well. That'd be much, much appreciated. Cool. Okay, so I think that is everything. The topic I wanted to talk about today, which I'm sure most people saw, was in fact, where are we? Ukraine announced that it was going to be importing loads of immigration from Africa to bolster the workforce. And we kind of have to talk about like what exactly has happened in Ukraine to get to this point. What more than likely is going to happen over all of the West as we move forward. And there's still a lot of those people who just don't realize how these steps kind of unfold. So as a short little list, you know, like if we think about what happened, the war obviously has been going on for quite a few years now. But the first step, obviously, they get into the fight. And that alone is a rabbit hole, which a lot of people are aware of. But regardless, we're here now. So they get into the fight. And this is where step one, they send both voluntary people and involuntary people into war. So what does that mean when they're involuntary? Well, it means they are literally rocking up to these people's houses. They are ripping these men from their homes and then forcing them to go into the front line. I was looking this up. So there's multiple estimates about how many people have died. Top end of this puts it at 140,000 Ukrainians have now died. So now we're in this situation where they have just killed off a huge chunk of the fighting age men. What I found really interesting is at the same time when Zelensky's doing this, he's created all of these new laws, which is protecting one group of people and one group alone. Has anyone got any guesses who it might be? It should be pretty obvious by this point, but it is, of course, you guessed it. So Zelensky signs law introducing criminal liability for anti-Semitism. And hopefully, I mean, it sounds like you're hearing me okay. The picture is sorted this time, so hopefully it's all going smooth. But this is where it gets really interesting, of course. So in cases where anti-Semitic acts are accompanied by violence, deception, or threats, penalties are tougher, fines from 500 to 1,000, minimums imprisonment for the terms of 2 to 5 years. 2 to 5 years, this is crazy. The maximum penalty, it says here, 5 to 8 years in prison, which is absolutely mental. So you'd think that, obviously, when there's a war going on, when 140,000 people have died, you'd think that would be the priority. You'd think this is where the main concern is. But at the same time, he's pushing through all these laws, which is like, why? Why is it always this one specific group which gets all of the protection? You know, if you look up the demographics of Ukraine, the Jewish population is actually only 0.1% of the entire population. Yet they are getting the most bias, the most protections of laws and rules more than any other group. Interestingly enough, I didn't realize this, and I'm sure a lot of you might be screaming in the chat, Zelensky himself is Jewish. I only just found this out like the other day. So it doesn't really you don't really have to look so far to see that there's this bias, there's this in-group loyalty always prevalent. So the reason why I bring it up is, like I say, it goes through all of these steps. First, it starts this war. Then it puts you into the situation where you're either volunteering or you're involuntarily taken from your home by your own fellow countrymen, right? Then there's all these new laws, which is protecting one group of people. Then it gets to the point where are we? Then it gets to the point where all of the population is then replaced by the third world. This is something that we're seeing all over the West. And in the UK, we haven't quite gotten into the point where we're into war. But I guess the whole reason why I'm saying all these things is, even though I know there's so many people that reach out to me who are aware of all these things which are going on, they're aware of the bias, they're aware that these wars are more or less bullshit, it could still be one of our fellow countrymen which comes into our homes and ends up ripping us to then go fight a war we don't even want to be there for. We see in America all these people that are kicking off saying no one wants to fight for Israel. And it's true. No one does want to do it. But what if you don't have a choice? What if you're forced to do it against your will, just like it was done to these Ukrainians? And just like it was done to the Ukrainians, now they're in a situation where the women and children are defenseless. And what are they doing? They're flooding the country with the third world. Oh, bit of a mess. But that's, you know, we're seeing this play out time and time again. So the other interesting thing, and again, I'm not particularly picking on this group of people, but it's important to show just how big these biases are. At least I think so anyway. So again, there is only one group and one group alone which is exempt from the draft. Everyone has to fight. Everyone, right? Apart from one group. And you can guess who that group is, right? So even though this group of people are of military age who are not prepared to join the army, and when they give the reason as to why they're not prepared to join, they have growing anxiety. Growing anxiety. Listen, we all have anxiety, especially when it comes to war. But when you allow for just one group and one group alone to avoid going to fight, it's just such a hypocrisy. It's such a glaring hypocrisy that we kind of need to address. Again, the same thing could happen in basically any country in the West. It's important to remember that. Anyway, the reason why is it brings back painful echoes of another time in Ukrainian Jewish history when it was difficult to carry out essential ritual acts under communism. Jews in the Soviet Union were barred from practicing their religion. People. No one is above any other group. My issue isn't with this group in particular. My issue is with supremacy. My issue is with being unfair and allowing one group to have special exemptions over another group. And then what does that special exemptions look like? Well, it means you have to go to war. And by the way, no, you don't. You guys are right. You can stay. Even though you're a tiny, minute part of the population, don't worry about it. Let the others do it. Let the Goyim go fight the battles for you. You're fine. I should also point out, again, I'm not picking on them, because there are people of this community that will still go and fight. But again, it's this special rule which say, some of them actually, if you've got anxiety, you don't need to fight. Don't worry about it. This is the issue. And this is the same issue that we're seeing throughout the West. I've got a few videos to play as well. Oh, and also, it's important to point this out too, because the growing anxiety that we're seeing with these people when they don't fight, obviously that's going to cause so much tension, right? And what happens if they were to speak out? Well, now that Zelensky's brought in these new laws, this is what happens. You literally, if you get pissed off that you have to go fight a war and they don't, what's that going to look like? You could be in prison for 2 to 5 years. The maximum penalty is 5 to 8 years. So you could literally be a guy who was ripped out of his home, forced to fight. It's completely involuntary. And then if you notice that there's a group of people who don't have to fight and you bring that up, well, I'm sorry, now you're going to get imprisoned. Now you're going to get these fines. Now you're going to get all these things. It's something to pay attention to, because this could happen in the West pretty soon. Anyway. Hello to people who are watching. Thank you for the support. Appreciate it. Anyway, where was I going to go? Oh yeah, I got a few videos for you. And hey, if there's anything that you guys want to talk about while we're here, please send them into the chat. In 10 minutes time, I'll read through a few of them. We can go from there. There was suggestions that we were going to do debates on this as well. I'm still getting to grips with the tech, as you can see. We're running a lot smoother than last time, but down the line, we can do debates and all of that too. I'm happy to do it. Anyway, some clips. So just like we're seeing in Ukraine, where they're important to the third world, well, this is the reality of what that looks like. Yes, more doctors and engineers, what we like to see. And also, I don't know if you guys saw this, but we had it in Australia, where they recently passed some laws. And again, there seemed to be a bit of a bias. There seemed to be a special exemption for one group and one group alone.
This is how the Australian government and Israel are stripping the rights of the Australian citizen. We're going to go chronologically. So in December of 2024, there was a synagogue arson in Melbourne. In August of 2025, the Prime Minister Albanese and ACO Chief Burgess, which is like America's CIA, they accuse Iran of orchestrating the attack. No public evidence is released, and the New South Wales police find no Iranian involvement, just some local criminal. So Iran's ambassador in Australia gets expelled, and in October 2025, Mossad takes credit for the Iran intelligence. Israel's like, Australia expelled the Iranian ambassador because Netanyahu intervened. Now in December 2025, there's a Bondi Beach Hanukkah shooting. It kills 15 people, and the Mossad assists the Australian investigation. Now we're in February 2026. Israeli President Herzog holds a secret, undisclosed meeting with Australia's ACO Chief Burgess at the ACO headquarters. Parliament doesn't know anything about it. Now we're in mid-February 2026. The ACO Amendment Bill passes Parliament. This is a law that allows ACO to detain and interrogate any Australian citizen as young as 14 years old for up to 24 hours without charging them with a crime, and send them to prison for up to 5 years if they refuse to talk. Australian citizens no longer have the right to remain silent, right against self-incrimination, the presumption of innocence, the right to a lawyer without restriction, and the sunset clause was removed, so this is a new permanent set of powers the government has. There's still hope. The Senate still has to pass the bill, and then it needs the royal assent from Australia's Governor General. The Australian government has explicitly justified this bill by saying that anti-Semitism is the #1 security threat that Australians face, even though Jews only make up 0.4% of Australia's population, and Zionist Jews are 0.2% of Australia's population.
You get the idea. This is the same situation repeated again and again. The biggest problem in Australia that they face today is anti-Semitism, but they're 0.5% of the population. It's the same in the UK, 0.5% of the population. But if you know anything about the UK, there is more protection for anti-Semitism, there's more protection for Islamophobia, and there is basically zero protections when it comes to Christianity, despite the fact that it's a white Christian country. Where are we? So this is kind of what we're up against. We can see that we have all of these laws which are coming in, which do not protect the masses. They do not protect the people who actually built these countries. England, we've had that land for over a millennia. We have shaped and grown it into what it is today. Yet our government turns around, and instead of protecting the people, the very people and the ancestry, well, the descendants of the ancestors who've literally built that country up, instead of protecting them, they choose to protect these small little minority groups over us. Furthermore, then we have the Prime Minister himself. I'm sure a lot of people saw this, but he says that his duty is going to be to attack people on the far right, attack people who are, more patriotic, more nationalist. That's where his crosshairs are going to be. It's one of these things that we have to realize very, very quickly, that the things which they're doing is on par with treason, right? And I know a lot of people who watch the show get that. I get all these messages all the time from people who have the exact same concerns as me. So this whole episode is about going through what I think some of the most sensible steps are and how we can kind of move forward with all of this. So, where are we? Like I say, like I say, there's more strong laws which are protecting against anti-Semitism in the UK. Strong laws which are against Islamophobia. But the one group that they have the very least amount of protections for is, of course, Christianity. And more so than that, we also have all these hate crimes. So who are the hate crimes most likely to protect? Well, it's basically any minority. Do you know which class of people it doesn't protect? It is the white English people. And I'm sure that we can see this pattern in America. We can see this in Canada. We can see this in Australia. It's the same thing every time. And we're all kind of waking up to that reality. And actually, I had this Muslim friend of mine, and he was saying, like, well, why are you against Islamophobia? Why are you against these laws which are going to stop people from hating? And it's like, this isn't about that. That's not what these are. If you have laws that protect Islam, protects Judaism, protects Hinduism, it protects every single group apart from one, well, it's not actually about protection. It's not about equality. No, this is about attacking one group and one group alone. And the thing is, the groups that they're attacking are the very groups which have built that country into what it is today. America wouldn't have been America if it wasn't for the WASPs, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, right? It wouldn't have grown to its greatness. Before they turned up, America was just American Indians, right? It wasn't on the industrial scale that it is today. It wasn't the powerhouse, the empire that it is today. Same with England. England was able to build the British Empire, right? And it had that land for over a millennia. It was the biggest empire that ever existed. Now they're turning around and saying to us that you're all pretty much retarded, and if it wasn't for immigrants, you wouldn't be alive right now. And actually, immigration is a good thing. In fact, not only a good thing, it's actually our greatest strength. If it's our greatest strength, how are we able to operate to the point of having the biggest empire in the world? It's just these things which are becoming more and more obvious that they don't make sense, right? And we can kind of see it for what it is now, especially with all these laws which are coming out. When in regards to the hate speech, I was looking this up the other day. So let me get my, is it this one? Yeah, okay. Forgive me, I got to search this up a bit. In the UK, per capita, who has the most crimes? Okay, this really put it in perspective for me. One second, I'm just going to get a drink. Okay. Also, how are we doing, people? We all good? Let me just check the chat a little bit. I'm not really getting much chat come through, but if you're still there, send me a message so I can see. And I guess I gotta keep checking the other things as we go. Okay. This really hit home, right? So who does the hate crimes normally protect? Well, the group with the most hate crimes recorded was the black group, 14 times higher. Then we have the Asian group, 8 times higher. Then finally, last but not least, we have white people. Whites have the least amount of hate crimes given to them. So what does that mean? Like, you might look at it and say, like, oh, that means actually white people are protected. Actually, it means that they're not getting attacked and it's a good thing. That's not what's happening. More of what's happening is the fact that they don't record these crimes because they're seen as the majority, because they're seen in a privileged position, right? When you have the black group, when you have the Asian community, they're minorities. And so they're giving all these extra provisions. They're giving all this extra special treatment. And white groups, more or less, you're just told to brush it off. The clearest example of this was the grooming gangs. We had over 100,000 white girls in the UK who had horrible things done to them over decades, right? They were sex trafficked all up and down the country. The government didn't do their job. When it came to the police and the girls were reporting what was going on, the police told them to go away. The police told them, like, actually, you're being racist and you should just have a mixed race boyfriend, or you should have a boyfriend from a different ethnicity, despite the fact that these girls were getting abused day in, day out. It's disgusting. And then when you see these stats, like, this is what it looks like, right? They'll try and paint the picture. Actually, you're in a privileged position. It's the opposite. It is the complete opposite. And we are under invasion right now. Maybe in the future we'll be sent to war just like they did in Ukraine. And they're already talking about that now. Anyway, I don't say all this stuff to be doom and gloom. There is a positive thing which will come about this. Anyway, one of the people that I've had on the show a few times is a guy called Eric. And I think he's doing a good job. He himself has a podcast. He does a live stream as well. What he's doing in America, he's creating these intentional communities to just try and preserve American, European culture. That's all it is. It's not him going out and attacking other people. It's not him trying to lessen any other group. He's just trying to preserve what he sees as his culture, and that's it, right? In America, where every other group can preserve its culture. So what's the big deal, right? Here's a clip from what he did the other day. Where are we?
This is how the Australian government and Israel.
Not that one. Is it this one? Okay. Let me move my head a little bit. Arvo is the man. Yeah, Arvo is the guy. Where are we? Okay. If you didn't see this was on his show the other day, but he makes a really, really good point.
Right. Now, I think it's a very analogous circumstance, obviously, with Irania, right? They made sure that it was constitutionally guaranteed that they had a right to some form of cultural self-governance, and then they structured their community, which isn't just, the Irania intentional community itself with 3,000 people. It's a large area all around Irania with a lot of allies. They have allies in Pretoria. They have allies in the Cape. And there's this pretty sizable territory where they have real political influence and institutional power still.
Hi, by the way.
Because they...
If you haven't already, leave a comment and like and subscribe. It goes a long way. It helps the algorithm and it means the world to me. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Here we go.
Are looking forward while...
Wait. I think I have to mute myself while these go on.
Recognizing, well, right now, say in the early 1990s, we are going to face this deconstruction of apartheid. We are going to have black rule. So how do we cope with it? How do we deal with it? That doesn't mean they're not still nationalists because they compromised in some sense to create Irania, but because they created it, now they have a physical center for the ethno-nationalist movement among Afrikaners. And like Stridham, the PR guy for Irania, he'll say it's like the ultimate goal is not just a town like this. It's not just for it to become a city. They do want it to become a city, but it's the Volksstadt, right? They never lost sight of that. And yet they built Irania. And so with Return to the Land, people are very short-sighted. They say, oh, you're running off to the woods. It's pointless what you're doing. It's like, we're doing what we can to negotiate with the factions that are actually in power now. We don't want to make ourselves antithetically opposed to those in power and say, like, we're going to get our guy in office. We're going to institute Jewish pogroms. We're going to, like, deport all non-white, citizen or non-citizen, only recognize white people. Like, that would not get anywhere. And yet in extremist circles that also have been fed into by these fed ops, which have made them more extreme over the generations, really, it's generational psyops. In these extreme circles, people just love the rush that they get fantasizing about futures that there's no clear path forward to. And those who offer substantial steps where you can do this now, those people it's kind of a buzzkill. It's not as exciting. So we have to find ways of making it more exciting for people to recognize the steps forward are those that you can take right now to build our collective institutional power. By the way, entropy is where you can super chat if you have questions or want to chime in. All proceeds for this podcast go to our legal fund. We are the ones fighting for our right to organize as white Americans, to freely associate. We're putting ourselves out there. We're a private association, but we are on the front line of this fight. And the ground that we take or that we don't allow it to be ceded, that's going to benefit all of us. So if you can chip in, ask a question.
Super chat
yeah, I can check on it now and see, but no. So I hope that also, again, we don't have Scott to work on the tech stuff, and I'm also doing the stream while trying an entropy super chat. Mention it. We can finally now get into what Brandon has to talk about, which again,
So, Eric Orwell does a great job, and he makes a really good point. What we are seeing is we have people like Steve Laws, we have people like Frojax in the US who are talking about remigration. And just to be clear, I love them both. I think they're doing a great job, and power to them. The problem is we can be, like Eric's saying, we can fantasize about this, that's going to happen. We can try and push for it as much as we like, but we're at the whim, we're at the will of the government. And, you know, look at Trump. Trump, he literally ran on this, right? He was saying one of his main talking points was mass deportations. We're looking at the US, and it's got 50 million illegals in the country. So it's like, okay, to put a dent into that, you're going to have to at least take, what, 1 million out, a couple million, for it to be substantial enough to keep the people happy. What did it actually get to? It got to 270,000. 270,000 out of 50 million. No one's going to miss this. No one's going to even notice that, right? And then it got to the point where he said that, okay, I'm going to call it quits, because he had so much pushback, right? And now what do we see in the UK? Like I say, we have people like Steve Laws who are championing remigration. And the premise of it is completely true. The premise of it does make sense that all these people who are in the UK illegally, they need to go. We need to have this hardline stance to, you know, restore what the UK is, because we can just see that the country is just going into the ground before our very eyes, the same way that Ukraine probably saw it as well. Anyway, the problem is, let's say best case scenario, Rupert Lowe comes in, and then he does exactly that. He's promising right now that he's going to kick out millions and millions of people. All it takes, just like it did with Trump, all it takes is just one bad photo where they're taking a mother from her children, where maybe the person's getting abused a bit too much by the UK ICE agents, whatever they're going to be called. You know, maybe an ICE agent is getting a bit too rough, or maybe they're in a fight and the cameraman just happens to get it where it looks like the ICE agent is the one who's being the oppressor. That's all it takes for then public support to just go out the window. And instead of kicking out the tens of millions that need to get kicked out, maybe, just like in America, you only get 100,000 out. Maybe you only get 10,000 out. It doesn't really, like, that's kind of what happens nowadays. It just takes one bad press release, and then that's it. The thing is killed. So what is the way forward? Well, we have people like Eric here who started his own intentional community. It's nothing at the moment, well, you know, not to rain on his parade, but it's a very small operation right now. But these things grow, right? These are the things that we can literally be doing right now. It's not harming anyone else. We don't care about the image. We just need to get out of it. See, I agree with that. But the majority of people will not, right? People will get cold feet. I'm not one of these people who's going to get cold feet, because I understand that if we don't do this, we're going to go extinct anyway. And that should be pretty clear to everyone by now. We already had the projections where we know we're going to be a minority. It's not going to stop there. No, once we get there, it's only going to accelerate. It's going to be more and more, right? I'm not going to be a guy who gets cold feet. But we have to think about all the other groups, right? All the minorities are going to see that, and they're going to be like, okay, I need to vote the other way. All of the women are going to see that and going to think the exact same thing, right? This is mean, I don't like it. It's only going to be really the native men. And even then, it's going to be what, 50% of them? 20% of them? I would like to see the majority awake. I would, but I don't know. Anyway, the reason why I say all this is because we could be doing stuff like Eric is doing right now. And I think that is the safest direction. Just like they do in Orania, right? They are a little community in the middle of nowhere. They're completely self-sufficient. They've detached themselves from the society, and they make enough through the solar panels. They make enough electricity, not just to power their own community, but they sell it back. These are the steps that we can be taking. There is, I forget his name, the Woodlander in the UK. There's the Woodlander, and he's basically the equivalent of what Eric's doing in the US, but he's doing it in the UK. There is that, but I haven't actually spoken to the guy yet. I've reached out, and I do want to understand kind of how the operation works. It is one of them things, but I don't know it. I don't know it. So for me, I think the thing moving forward would be for me to try and make a platform, find like-minded people, and this is how we need to pool our resources. This is really what we need to be doing, because down the line, if we are just all individuals scattered around the country, we are just going to get picked off one by one. Or just like we saw in Ukraine, people are going to rock up to your house, people who aren't awake, who think, oh, we've got to fight this war. Okay, and they are going to rip you from your house, rip you from your family, and then put you on the front lines. And just like we see in Ukraine, 140,000 of them are dead. That's what we're seeing. That's what's going to happen, right? And for those who are awake, it shouldn't be that far-fetched of an idea, because we can already see it happen around the globe. Then everyone's favorite, where is he? We have people like this guy.
Sexual assault is a deeply, deeply awful and tragic thing that we need to prevent and stop. But there is absolutely no evidence that the people who are sexually assaulting people are people seeking asylum.
Forgive me, let me...
Sexual assault is a deeply, deeply awful and tragic thing that we need to prevent and stop. But there is absolutely no evidence that the people who are sexually assaulting people are people seeking asylum.
So Zach Polanski there, leader of the Greens. This is how the propaganda works. So with this guy, right, I agree with you, the majority is waking up. But when it comes to the Greens, Zach Polanski is literally gaslighting everyone, saying, no, there's no problems with the immigrants. They're definitely not going out there and raping people. That talk is quite good. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan. I don't know her enough, but she did push back. Like, it's recorded everywhere. How can you say it isn't happening? Where are we? Is it this one? No, this one. Here we go. We've all probably seen it. This was the news which came out not too long ago, and 3 people gang raped this poor girl on Brighton Beach. So, again, and all these stories, there are so many of them now. It should be obvious to anyone that this stuff is happening, like, en masse. You know, the grooming gangs, again, that should be the only thing we need to prove our point. Yet, still, the Green Party is surging. And that's how it works, because you have people like Polanski who will happily gaslight or are just in severe denial about all this stuff which is clearly going on. And the problem with Zelensky is, when you look at who supports the Green Party, 64% of those people are women. So the saddest thing about it is it's women who are going to be the biggest victims of mass migration, yet they are the ones who are mostly voting for this stuff. And it is kind of heartbreaking, because we all lose in that situation, but especially the women lose, because this is what is going on. Zach's own mother is scared of what happens if... Why that? Surely she's going to have a field day. Surely she's loving it. Why would she be scared? Oh, you mean from the immigration? Is she scared of it though, or is she the one championing it? This is, yeah. Also, guys, I appreciate everyone turning up. This is going to be a weekly thing, so honestly, much obliged. Share the word, get everyone involved. You have an idea of the direction I'm going to be taking the show, but the more, the better. Everyone's welcome, and this is what it's all about. We can see that the writing's on the wall, and we need to move forward. We need to have some kind of strategy of how we're going to defend ourselves, protect ourselves. So, and we got 18 people, 20 people. This is great. This is great. I appreciate it. Where was I? Okay. So yeah, and also when it came to the mass deportations, this is where it's such a hot topic, because we have people like Obama who didn't really run on immigration. That wasn't his thing. That's not what he was known for. But when he was doing the deportations, he actually had a more successful run than Trump. Obama was able to get rid of 3 million people, right? And still he was referred to as the cool guy, right? Despite the fact that every single day of his presidency, he was at war, right? He was bombing all these little kids, just like they've been doing for the longest time. He was still referred to as the cool guy, right? Because he had the media machine on its side. People like Rupert Lowe, and I don't know how I feel about him at the moment. Like I was saying with Sonny the other day, you do need to concede power somewhere. It's just the nature of the beast. But if he was to push forward and make the right moves for our people, I can still get behind it, right? But he will not have the media machine on his side. That is for sure. And like I say, he only has to have one bad hit piece, and that's it. It's dead. All right? Public support is no longer behind it, despite it being the obvious move which the country needs to do in order to survive. But yeah, Obama, 3 million taken away. Trump, who's the bad guy, Trump, who runs on mass deportations, he only gets under 300,000. So Obama was able to do 10x of what Trump was. And he's not even known for it, and he's still considered a good guy. This is the power of the media machine. So we are kind of up against it, no matter where we look, Restore is a stepping stone towards ethno-nationalism. I would agree. Rupert isn't nearly radical enough, but yeah, exactly. And Rupert, if nothing else, would be good morale for our side, right? It would be a step in the right direction, which then could lead us to what we actually need. In the meantime, though, people like Reese is talking. I do think he makes a good point. And maybe he's a bit too black-pilled. And his advice is to just, we need to rely on ourselves. That's not wrong. That's not a bad stance to have. Eric, for example, he is relying on himself. He's doing this with his like-minded people. He's paying for it from his own pocket as well. All of these people, they're collecting all their resources in order to do that. It is much harder to do that in England because it's just, everyone knows how expensive it is. But that is the move. So when Reese is saying stuff like that, I agree with him. But there's no reason why we can't do both at the same time, right? Rupert could be good for us. The problem when we do that is because people will just get it into their heads that, okay, he is the savior that we need. I'm going to put all of my efforts with Rupert and hope for the best. That's what typically happens. People put all their eggs in one basket. Sure enough, if the same situation, that's exactly what America did. They put all of the right, MAGA, Make America Great Again, they put all their eggs in one basket with Trump. What has Trump done? Mr. No More Wars, Mr. Mass Deportations. He's failed on all fronts. So this is the trouble with kind of any political savior in a way, because you get your hopes up. More than likely, they're going to disappoint you. It's just the nature of politics nowadays. The way I think is the way forward is these intentional communities. And yeah, I have a lot of respect for what Eric's doing, because he's getting attacked also everywhere, and yet he's still pushing forward. This is the attitude we need to adopt too. And like he's saying with the radicalization of these groups, you have people who will come in trying to radicalize people, because the moment they do, that's when they can get arrested, you know? And obviously, don't get me wrong, like that is going to bite them in their ass too. If they arrest too many people, they're biting off more than they can chew. It's going to come back to haunt them. But at the same time, we do need to kind of keep a calm and steady attitude to this. We do just need to be doing stuff we can do in the background, which is these communities. We can network. Nothing's illegal about that. And they are trying to find excuses to arrest people, to, you know, stop them what they're doing. But if we do stay calm about this, we can cover a lot of ground, in my opinion. Well, when I say radicalize, I think a lot of people, they can get riled up so much that they can turn to violence. And obviously, like, the police are just looking for any excuse to attack someone who is a nationalist and fighting on the side of England for the English natives, for the English people, right? Yeah, it's the problem with when you say radical, it's kind of a subjective term. But I say it in the sense that they are trying to get to the point of people where they can just easily arrest them. Whereas if we were all on the same page and we had like these communities, then if they tried to come forward and like I say, try and rip people out of their homes, but we're all united as one, good fucking luck. You know, it's just not going to happen. Okay. And if we were united in one place and we have all of everyone looking after each other, just like how it used to be, I just think their job is going to be so much harder to do. Anyway, that's kind of my logic. And I think that was the kind of logic which was going through Eric when he was starting his return to the land. What else? Oh, and like, I mean, this is just...
Sexual assault is a...
No, not you, Polanski. Go away. This is how biased it is, right? So here's... Where is she? Zara Sultana. People might have already seen this, but just in case you haven't.
Oh, the majority, this country belongs to us. So yes, we will defeat them at the ballot box, but when necessary, we fight them in the streets as well.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I don't know. I'll just say that little rant again. Zara Sultana, she is literally calling for fighting in the streets, right? She is literally saying we will fight them in the streets if we have to. Let's compare that with someone like Sam Melia, right? Something like that. He was the guy in the UK who got arrested and put in prison for putting up stickers, right? Can you hear me now? I'm getting a few... send me a message if you can hear me, okay? Am I on? I'm going to assume I'm on. It looks like it's coming through. Let me see. Where are we? Good. Okay, cool. All right, we're back. So, okay, let's compare that, right? We have Zara Sultana, who's part of the Your Party, who's like with Jeremy Corbyn. This is a major party. She's an MP, and she is literally saying, if we need to, we will fight them in the streets, right? Compare that with someone like Sam Melia, who was the guy who was putting up anti-immigration stickers all around. I forget even where it was, but in the UK, right? The punishment for him doing that was that he got, like I say, he got put in prison, right? This is what we're up against. This is the level of bias, which is so obvious. On one hand, we have someone who is literally saying, we will fight them in the streets, a call to arms, we will attack anyone who gets in our way, versus someone who put up stickers, right? The person who put up stickers, obviously, you need to go to prison, you're the danger. The person who's calling for a civil war on a microphone, who's an MP of one of the big parties, no, you're fine, keep going about your business, no problem there. That is what we're up against. And that is what I mean when I say the radicalization, because it doesn't take much to just go that one step too far, which I agree is completely ridiculous. And I agree it's not fair. But if we are going to get anywhere, we do have to be very cautious about this. We do have to kind of go about this in a way where hopefully we don't get arrested. Hopefully we don't get, we build one of these communities, we say the wrong thing, and then they seize it. This is something which is going to have to takes a lot of patience, and it has to take a lot of time to build it to something that is actually substantial. And ultimately, this is also, we can have some kind of preservation of our culture, which is crazy to even say, but that is the situation where we're at. Where are we? Was there any? Oh, yeah. There's something that I did want to draw attention to as well. Sonny, who was on the show, who was the SBS reservist, I really liked him. And I think he's coming at this from the same position that a lot of us are. One of the things that he did say, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, because things are changing all the time. He did suggest that we go to the Army Reserves, right? And I was looking this up. One of the worries, I had a lot of comments about this. If you join the Army Reserves, Sonny's argument was basically, well, you'll learn all the skills. You'll be able to fight. We'll be organized. All of that I completely agree with. And we do need to be organized. We do need to think about these things, and it would unite us in a huge way. The problem is, of course, let me just make sure we get all that. There we go. Problem is, of course, is he was saying that it wasn't compulsory. You had to volunteer if you wanted to go into fight. Obviously, that's not the case. It is completely compulsory. So if you do sign up with the Army Reserves, they will make you fight. So obviously, we can't go down that route, but it's just more of a realization that this is on us. This is up to us to really organize ourselves, not use the army, despite the fact that they would give us a lot of skills and kind of the ability to how to really effectively organize ourselves, but we can't. Clearly, we can't use that. What is that? The age limit for reservists has also been raised to 65 years old. That is just mental. Who is going to be fighting at 65? That is absolute. This is anti-white. It really is. Taking out not only like fighting age, you would have thought 55 was the limit, but to take out all the 65-year-olds as well. Fucking hell. Anyway, you get the gist. No, none of us are fighting. But that is why we do need to be united, because just like in Ukraine, it was their own people who were ripping them out of their houses. Just like in England, it could be our own countrymen who are taking us out. If not everyone's awake, and not everyone is, that's the reality of what it'll look like. Sadly. Yeah, cannon fodder. Completely. Right, I'm just going to check the donations thing. If someone has done a donation through Streamlabs, firstly, thanks very much. Like I say, if you donate $10 or more, it should come up with an automatic message. Should do. But again, I haven't tested this out, so I don't know if it works or not. But I'm just going to check. Oh, I had just in case, because I don't want someone to send something in and I've missed it. And if you have, I apologize. I'm going to try and look through this all now. Anyway. Okay. All right, we're back. Yes. While I'm here, is there anything that anyone else wants to draw attention to? Is there an article people want to talk about? Is there a video you want us to watch? Just try and keep in mind, keep it short, and then we can watch it. Ideally 5 minutes tops, guys. But if you have something, also you can send it through to my Instagram. This is where I'm the most. This is where I'm on the most probably, and I can receive messages much easier, and I can put them on the stream, no problem. But this is something where I just want to build a community, hopefully get all of us on the same page. Maybe down the line we can actually start building something physically, you know. Just like the likes of Arvo Orwell's doing. And guys, thank you. This has been about an hour. This has been great. If you've been here for the whole time, much appreciate it. I'm, as you can tell, I'm still getting to the swing of things, getting the gist of the technology. But compared to last week, I think this is a massive improvement. So thanks very much. Something that I do want to say, actually, which I think is important, we might never go back to what England was pre-World War II. It might not happen. And we kind of have to accept that reality to a certain degree. Because, like Eric was saying, we could fantasize about the remigration stuff. And we could have all of our eggs in one basket. We could be all just gunning for that so much. And then when it doesn't happen, suddenly we're left holding the bag. Suddenly now we've got nothing. We've got nothing to fall back on. We are so much on the back foot right now. It's actually unreal. Every other class of people has so much more protections than us, right? So when we do become the minority, it's not as if now suddenly like, oh, they're going to give us the benefits too. No, the groups which are now empowered, the groups which are now stronger, they are going to have even more protections. I'll give you a good comparison, right? Do you think if you went to an Islamic country, do you think that they're going to support the Christian minority and give the Christian minority more supervisions and more laws to protect them than the Islamic one? No, of course not. And like, you'd be retarded to think that, right? Obviously. Do you think if you went to Israel, and obviously the Jewish people, they are the main concern. The laws are massively favorable to the Jewish people, as you would expect. Do you think that they're going to allow a minority group of Christians or a minority group of Muslims to have more rights and more laws to protect them? Again, no. That'd be really, really retarded, right? This is how bad the West has gotten, because we are the only people to allow all these other groups to have all these rights at our own detriment. Like I say, we have less hate crime protections. We have less rules, less laws protecting Christianity. We had it not even that long ago, where people outside of abortion clinics were arrested for thinking, for praying silently, not even saying a word. Do you think that would have happened if it was like an Islamic group doing the exact same thing? It wouldn't, right? It's just becoming very, very obvious that there's such a bias. So if we need to, for the moment, just take a step back, build these little communities, collectivize, and then start building these intentional communities, which at the end of the day will preserve 100% of what our culture is, maybe that's the best move for the time being. And we don't lose sight of what the overall, the greater goal is, but at least now we have something to fall back on. That's kind of the logic I'm coming at this at. And let me know. I mean, do you guys agree with this? Or like, what do you think? What do you think is the strategy moving forward? Because yes, the writing is on the wall to a certain degree right now, and it doesn't look good. Remember, guys, if you want to be a supporter, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you, all right? No, I'm joking. Don't feel you have to. But just to plug it one more time, if you haven't already, follow the Rumble. I know I haven't posted much, but I will in the future, especially if they take me off the YouTube. That's for sure. All right, let me see. We need to build communities. Completely agree. When I am weaker than you, I ask you for freedom because that is according to your principles. When I am stronger than you, I will take away your freedom because that is according to my principles. Exactly that. And I think this is where Christianity gets a bad rap. But it is important to know that it wasn't always like this. You know, my understanding of the meek also, because people say the meek will inherit the earth, right? This is a Christian principle. But what they take that as is, the weak will inherit the earth. Therefore, we need to protect the weak. My understanding of what that word actually means, it's people with strength, but people who don't use it, right? People that could be violent, people that could create destruction if they wanted to. But instead, they choose to be the calm, the warrior in the garden, right? Rather than a gardener in the war. You are the warrior in the garden who chooses to be controlled, right? Which is exactly kind of what the British always were, right? We were the ones who were known for being the gentlemen. And people can point out like, well, you guys you guys colonized and all these things. The colonization was actually very benevolent. When you look at other cultures and how they would literally just rape and pillage as they were taking over all these different parts of land, it was the English who were actually there, who were building, schools, building hospitals. We have a lot to be proud of, and they try and tell us that our history is bullshit. But that is just not the case, it's because we actually have such a good culture. This is exactly why I want to preserve it. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk. Anyway, where are we? We need to use community politics and nativist campaigning so we can win seats. Yeah, and I'm not so black-pilled that we shouldn't. We need both, really. We need both politics and we need communities. We need to do it from our own back. But the problem is, if we don't take the steps to build our communities ourselves, politics won't care about us. Look at Islam, right? For all of its faults, it has such strong communities, right? And it's because they were able to gather together and they teamed up. And yeah, they were intimidating. They would intimidate certain MPs and stuff, but they did it collectively, and that put pressure on them. And I'm not saying that we need to go out and threaten people, but if we are collectivized, we are a collective. There is a threat there. Even if we don't act on it, there is the potential threat, right? There's the potential to do harm. There's a huge group. That's what it is. So this is what we need to do moving forward, in my opinion, and we need to do it fast. That is why, too, please join the Telegram. I'm not sure if I left the link on this description, but it's if you go to the Instagram, if you go to the main YouTube page, you'll see a link for the Telegram. This is what its purpose is. This is what it's designed for, to build these communities. Maybe down the line, we pool our resources. Maybe we start building these communities ourselves. Most people who watch the show, again, I am so grateful that you guys get it, but we can kind of see this is what it's going to be moving forward. Anyway, guys, I'm planning to do these talks for about an hour. If you stayed here for the whole thing, thank you so much. Leave a comment after this as well, and let me know if there's any topics that you want me to focus on for next week. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, and I think we can all realize the issues which are kind of playing out for everyone to see. So yeah, thanks very much. I hope to see you next week, and if you could share, comment, whatever it is you got to do, if you could do all those things, I would much appreciate it. We should have a new episode this week as well, so stay tuned for that. Any questions, anything that you want to tell me before, let me know in the comments. I ended this stream a little too early last time, so I'm just going to leave this for a few minutes before I completely turn it all off. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for turning up. It means a lot. We need to put Britain first, not Israel. Completely agree. Right. Cool. All right, guys, that is me.